You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Every single Tuesday night, right here on all your favorite social media networks. And you can catch the audio version downloadable on Thursdays at midnight. This is it, Keith. After tonight, we'll be heading down to the lake.
I'm going to go to the lake, and I'm going to swim.
I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside, no, not our normal new host. Yeah, he's going to be at the lake. He's bumming out on us tonight. He's hanging with the fam before he goes and spends 4 days away.
We don't have families.
And our other host,
Keith Cheatham.
He says it. He always says it when Sean's not here.
I do it for Sean. It's for him in his memory.
Go, Sean.
In his memory.
He does it for you.
For you.
Because if you're not here and he doesn't say it, you forget who he is.
I try to hide. I don't want him to know who I am.
He's a little hider.
I don't want him to know who I am.
Yeah, vacation officially began for me on, I would say it was... See, that's why I don't have my hair all done.
Oh, boy.
I just got it.
Oh, he's all bummed out.
It's all just,
He's just been bumming it.
Sorry, guys, I'm bumming it. That's right. I've been on vacation since, well, technically, Sunday.
It's
weird. Sundays and Mondays are my weekend days.
Yeah.
So then I was like Tuesday through Saturday I'm off, and then I bookend it with the week. I mean, who doesn't do that?
Who doesn't?
Even if you have a Monday and Friday.
I worked Monday, but just Monday.
Uh-huh.
Just Monday.
Yep. Aren't you glad you took the day off at least?
Yeah, I'm glad I took today off.
Because I did. I had to get prepped. I had to get packed and ready to go.
I cut my grass. I weed-eated. Made sure the pool was clean. All set.
I did all that yesterday.
I did that today. That's why I took today off. And then, I did my laundry. I'm good to go.
You ready? You ready to go?
I'm ready.
I know. We got to get through this show, though.
We do. All right.
That doesn't mean it's going to be any
We're
less.
over. We're done.
Right.
Nope. We're going to the lake.
Let's just head to the lake.
You want me to follow you, but I won't. I'm going to do the show without you now. Now it's just me alone doing the show. And this you get back out there. You get back out there. Man, I was ready. I was ready to leave this show. It. I was going to lead it. Do a solo show. It was going to be nothing but 3 hours of this.
Do the rest of this in mine.
For 3 hours, and everybody's going to love it.
Do the rest of this in my aviators. That's right. A stun of shades.
Now I want to get my sunglasses, but they're at home.
Nope.
They're at home, and I'm not leaving.
Nope.
If I leave, I'm not coming back.
That's right.
Ever again.
No, he's gone after this weekend. He's out. He is out of this world. He's never coming back to the show. He'd be like Sean over there. He's just gone. Miss you, buddy.
And then we just one by one fade away.
We do have a great show, though.
We have some good headlines. We got a good review. Yeah. It's definitely been a busy week. It's been a heck of a week. Both in the movie industry and outside of the movie industry. So.
I don't want to start off... we're just talking about our vacation and us going to the lake, and I don't want to start off with somber news, but we had 2 major deaths this past week.
Well, we had 3. Had a couple.
3, but the one of them is not technically included in the industry, but we're going to throw him in there.
You also have the child actor from Alf who passed. Yeah. And I forget his name.
Whoops.
I sent that one. I think that was a little bit earlier, but yeah. So that's
of course
4.
4?
Well, the 2 you listed, the one that I know you're thinking about, and then the actor from Alf is 4.
And deaths usually come in 3s.
Yeah. Well, I think there were 2 more, but they weren't film related because Dr. Ruth or whatever is one, but she's not in the movie.
Mentioning her.
Well, we already did, but that's why I just threw it out of the way. So that's 5, and I thought there was a 6th one, but I can't. Maybe it is just the 5, but I don't know.
The 2 actresses that we are, of course, thinking about
major,
right off the top.
Yeah.
Major actresses. Shelley Duvall passing at the age of 75, and then Shannon Doherty passing really, really young due to stage 4 breast cancer.
Yeah, she's had that she's had cancer for a long time, and the fact that she's fought it for so many years.
I think she was first diagnosed in 2015. She went into remission in 2017. It came back. and it appeared again at stage 4 in 2019, and she's been struggling since then, and unfortunately lost her battle. On a piece of sad news, but lost it on your birthday, July 13th. Keith just celebrated his 34th birthday.
Yeah, president got shot on my birthday too.
We ain't got to talk about that.
I know.
That's another sad, tragic day in the United States of America. I mean, we're just living in some troubled times right now.
Yeah.
Probably quite.
I had
honestly,
an eventful birthday.
You did. I said, well, in probably the
It's
more
a historic day now.
The more crass way, I said your birthday was popping. I ain't gonna lie.
It was. I've had major event. My birthday, Meal's anniversary.
Yes.
And now an assassination attempt. I'm like, it's a great day. Or, I mean.
a great day, not in terms of
like.
But a great day in history.
Great as in like, yeah.
Encompassing grand
not as
moments.
in good, yeah, grandiose.
Yes,
yeah. Like the line from Harry Potter. Terrible, but great. Like
right.
So.
But yeah, Shannon Doherty, she passed at the age of 53. And Shelley Duvall passed, of course, just of actually, I found out, I did not know this. It was complications with diabetes.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, granted 75, but like that's not young, but at the same time, it is kind of like people live longer. So it's like, it's not as shocking as Shannon Doherty, but still, it's kind of like, man, you know.
I remember there were pictures, most recent pictures. I mean, she kind of left Hollywood to, she did do a film back in 22, but she more or less left Hollywood and was ostracized or kind of, I don't want to say ostracized. She went back to Texas and was like, I think she just wanted to be out of the limelight.
I think was done kind of with Hollywood, yeah.
But the fact is that, you know, she herself, I saw a picture of her. It was maybe a year old because I looked her up recently, and it's odd that this just happened. But I looked her up because I was like, whatever happened to this actress? She already had like a very thin, gaunt looking style. You know, just her body in terms of something from out of the 70s, very akin to that decade of just either.
She was always very. I mean, there's a reason she was chosen to play Olive Oyl on Popeye because she was a toothpick.
And honestly, could not think of a better description for her. And yet, the problem was this photo it showed her she just looked very sickly.
Yeah.
So unfortunate that, you know, she passed, I think, still what is considered today at a young age of 75.
Yeah.
But you got to take care of yourself.
It's sad.
You know?
It is sad. And then I think the only other one that wasn't film related, I think we have to mention
he was in
Mr.
a few
Simmons.
films.
They were recording. Actually, yeah, he had cameos in movies. I mean, he did. So yeah.
And he was a big TV star in the 90s, 80s and 90s, I would argue.
So I mean, that's still film. That's still,
right.
Yeah.
Mr. Richard Simmons, he passed, and unfortunately, it was on the same fateful day as probably one of the biggest moments in history in our lifetimes, the assassination attempt.
My birthday, so
at President Donald Trump. So it's like for his death to be overshadowed by that, I mean, it's odd because in a weird way, Richard Simmons had been out of the spotlight for so long. He had been a recluse. He kind of very much tried to shy away from any publicity at all after years and decades of being in the limelight for his weight loss, I guess trends. But, it's interesting that you think of how his life ended tragically in the sense that, I don't want to say tragically because, it wasn't in the spotlight, but really think about it. I mean, maybe he didn't want to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
He wanted to be, obviously, I think, remove himself from the social eye. And a lot of people, I think, in this world, you think, oh, man, if they were famous or they had some kind of some publicity and some stardom, that they would never want to give that up. And I don't think that's the truth.
No,
there's a lot of
there's
people
plenty
who
that do, have
their fill, and then they say, okay, I'm done. I'm all right. So enough.
The ones who aren't as egotistical, I think, actually get tired of all of it. So.
Yeah, and maybe those too who don't really understand the cost of fame and what it brings. Yeah. But you know what? Enough of the somber nature. We're ready to. I got the Stunner Shades on. I'm ready to
Stunner Shades.
Get this show on the road.
Yeah, we've got the sad news out of the way. Now we're going to get into a great review and some terrible news also in the news feed, in my opinion. But we'll. Yeah.
True. I agree. Not the news.
Talk about egotistical. We're going to get into
But as much as I am looking forward to getting out on that lake and enjoying some nice time in the sun and in the water.
Sun.
Oh, we got to get through this spooky review.
Spookums.
Man, talk about in the dead of summer. This would have been perfect for Halloween, which granted maybe by then it'll be out on demand and we can watch it again because, it's creepy.
Creepy.
But what did we think of? Yes, the cult horror classic to land a big box office splash out of nowhere.
Yeah. It did very well for itself.
Here is our review of Longlegs.
After walking away from last week's Maxine disappointed, Hollywood surprises us with another indie horror original that has blown Maxine clear out of the water. Longlegs, from writer and director Osgood Perkins, has blown past original estimates to garner a $22 million opening weekend, already earning twice its budget back and landing in second place, beating Despicable Me 4. Not bad for an R-rated horror film. Starring Micah Monroe as FBI agent Lee Harker and Nicolas Cage as the satanic serial killer Longlegs. Lee is brought into the ongoing investigation surrounding a series of murders after showcasing possible psychic abilities. Lee's investigation into Longlegs uncovers horrific secrets. Longlegs is without a doubt the best horror release so far this year, delivering where I felt last week's Maxine failed. Perkins' story is original, suspenseful, disturbing, and horrifying. While both films utilize religious themes, Longlegs does so effectively, using the occult and Satanism to instill fear, painting it for what it is, evil. With a smartly written and tight script, the movie isn't unpredictable, but it holds you on the edge of your seat even when you know what is coming. The creative way the story unfolds and how Perkins gets us there while scaring and unnerving you makes for an effective horror experience. Fantastic performances from both Monroe and Cage alike also sell the story and drive the film. Monroe is socially awkward, standoffish, yet smart and capable. She has character flaws she works to overcome to stop the evil she's faced against. Cage is weird, creepy, and chews the scenery while also being unsettling enough to still terrify. Alicia Witt, who plays Lee's mother Ruth while a smaller yet equally important role, likewise delivers just as good a performance. With a strong story, writing, and performances at its core, Perkins also delivers an ambience and cinematography. Set in the 90s with flashbacks in the 70s, set pieces are well done for both eras, and brilliant camera work and cinematography sets both time frames apart. Feeling like a blend of Silence of the Lambs and Robert Eggers' horror like The Witch, Longlegs is unnerving visually as well. Longlegs is another refreshing modern horror film to add to the small but growing releases that seem to only come ever so often, amongst the large sea of schlock. It's scary but compelling and worth every accolade and dollar it has earned. If you love horror, I definitely recommend it. I give Longlegs 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Wow.
Ha ha ha! I liked it. It was good. It was
3.5.
hilarious. It was terrifying.
3.5 out of 4 stars
I did.
for Longlegs.
That was I liked it.
That was
I
a
liked it.
very good movie.
Um,
Sean, he did give us our score, even though he's
did.
not here tonight.
He also
he told us 3.5
yeah,
as well.
he did. He
out
went
of 4
along
stars.
with it.
I am going to go to 3
Okay.
out of 4
Fair.
stars.
That's fair.
I enjoyed it. Thought it was great. I think we all walked out terrified
Yeah,
of that movie. Very unsettling.
Indeed.
Very much I thought your review summed it up very nicely. Nothing that you don't expect, but the way in which the story is told is done creatively enough and in new ways. Again, that's in the days of whether it was the slashers in the 80s, or I would even argue what we have seen with Robert, Eggers recently, with some of his films. It's like there's certain aspects that you have to transform the genre, and I think that I would even argue for something that is more intellectual, sophisticated horror like Beau is Afraid.
Yeah.
Which is more psychological thriller, I guess. Is
that was Ari Aster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Man,
so,
Midsommar. Yeah. Ari Aster is. I haven't seen Hereditary yet. I know. Everyone keeps telling me I need to.
That's
but
actually where I was going to go.
Yeah.
I was going to put this more in line with Ari Aster's work because to me, Hereditary very much. There's a lot of parts in that film that are, I think, equal to what this one.
Okay. Again, because I don't think you've seen Midsommar, but I would
No.
put that above this too, as far as like unsettling and suspense and tension. Like not even direct, like in your face horror. Just the way it's done is just so unsettling.
And funny because I would put this above Hereditary. I mean, those are movies that I think they're worth watching. Once.
Yeah.
And I don't think enjoying is the right word. Enjoying being freaked out and or more or less while you're watching it, just being like, "What the hell
I've watched
is going on?"
Midsommar more than once. So
well, you all
for
watched
sure.
the director's cut too, didn't you? You saw
I've
it in
seen
theaters.
both. I've seen both.
And y'all
Yeah.
said the director's cut's better, isn't it?
The director's cut is actually what we saw in theaters because it came back out in theaters, and that's when we went and saw it.
Did not know that.
And I actually like, maybe because I saw it first, but I did like it better. I've seen the theatrical version since as well. But I mean, yeah, I like it more than Longlegs, but that doesn't take away from Longlegs, in my opinion. I especially coming off of Maxine, I just thought like, because I mean, I would say I liked Longlegs more than X, maybe not Pearl, but X for sure. Thinking about some of the more recent, like really good horror films that we've reviewed, like Barbarian, which Barbarian was better in my opinion. But I mean, again, there's a lot of original horror films coming out that not a huge flow of them, but it's nice to have like one or two sprinkled throughout the year compared to like Smile 2. I like Smile 1, but I'm not like it's whatever. It's just another like horror. Like it's going to be like Insidious and The Conjuring. It's like they're just going to run it into the ground and it's not going to be worth the poo.
And it's weird you bring up Barbarian because I would agree with you, but I think also I liked it better simply based on the fact that it just, I don't know, it's a style that I could watch over and over again.
I could watch Barbarian more than this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this one is I've definitely got to be in the mood for.
Yeah.
Because even as much as we compared it in the review and even as we were walking out of the theater to Silence of the Lambs, I can watch Silence of the Lambs more than I can watch
this is, I think, a little bit more straightforward horror, whereas Silence of the Lambs is more thriller-esque. I mean, there's horror elements in it, and it is considered a horror film, but I feel like, I don't know, like Silence of the Lambs is really, really well done. There's a reason it got, that
Best Picture.
So I don't foresee that with this, just because it's not the most original. It is really good, but I mean, this doesn't scream like when Silence of the Lambs came out, and into this day, it just holds up really well. Not that I think this won't hold up, but
no, but it definitely is more of your obscure type of film that I don't think even horror genre, unless you're really into filming or filmmaking or films in general, and you watch a lot, I don't think your casual moviegoer is probably going to give this one a high rating, or at least it may make them feel a little bit more out of place.
Yeah.
And look, I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea.
It's definitely not.
And that's part of what I liked about it, was because, again, as someone who reviews movies on a regular basis or has seen a lot of them, I like things that take a genre in a different direction, or at least do somewhat differently. I mean, everything here was working for it, whether it was the acting or the script writing. I mean, because there was a lot in this film that, when you break it down, is not so, it's not revolutionary or anything, but it's done with just enough of a difference than what has come before it.
It's very well crafted. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All the pieces work together, and they all are slightly elevated from what you've seen before, that I think just make it that much more interesting. Yeah. And by the end of the film, I didn't feel like any pieces were left open-ended enough to make me think, oh, they did some stupid cop-out of, some twist ending, or, oh, they left that obscure and didn't answer that. So, no, it is. It's very much, when you think about it and you connect all the dots, it is pretty much more straightforward.
It's not anything completely original, but at the same time, it is also outside of what we have as mainstream horror right now. And I agree. I think people who are kind of just like the mainstream horror, like, oh, just like it's Halloween, I want to get scared or watch something crazy, like the terrible Halloween movies, or like people who like Saw and The Conjuring, or like the people who flock to those movies and keep making those movies earn money. I agree. I think a lot of that audience may be put off by this because it is something a little bit more different, and it does have that more unsettling nature. I think some people will either scoff at it because it's not to them scary, because I know people who only think of scary as like Freddy Krueger with the knives or Saw with the bits being pulled apart, and I'm like, to me that's not scary. That's just gore. Yeah. And gore's not scary to me. So to me, I'm like, no, I'd rather have something like this that's unsettling, or Paranormal Activity, which is really unsettling. And I know some people laugh at that. It's like, it's just cabinets moving. It's like, no, it's what it represents and the unsettling. Like,
100%.
Again, it's like, to me, gore is not scary, but everybody has different, different tastes and different
I was going to
things that
bring
frighten them.
Paranormal Activity up because for me, it's one of my all-time scariest horror films.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's what it deals with in the occult and with the devil. And I think that again, if that's an area that you think is best left untouched, I'm not going to try to sway you into watching this film. But I think if you can take it seriously and also understand, hey, then I'm good, I'm saved, I'm all right, and you don't think of it as a stumbling block, then I think this movie is perfectly fine in watching, but also seeing that it errs on that side of, again, with the psychological thriller of reality and something unsettling of it. Honestly is, it's weird. It's the same kind of feeling I get when I'm watching documentaries of older serial killers, whether it be like Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
And they show these old crime scene photos. Like, there's scenes that are set up beautifully in this film that mimic the same kind of cinematography or photography that you see from those crime scene photos, or from even back in that era of them being on tape and giving interviews. And so for me, it captures that essence really well. And adding in that touch of the occult and the real world of what I believe to be, if you toy with it and mess with it, something that is demonic.
Yeah, it's like bad things will happen, and
Right.
absolutely, I agree. I think
And
it
I get
handles
that's
it.
not everybody's cup of tea.
It's not, but I mean, I appreciate that this movie takes this seriously too, because that was the difference between this and like Maxine last week, where we kind of laughed. It's like, it wasn't even that Maxine didn't take it seriously. It just, like I said in the review last week, it was very pedantic, and you could tell, like you said, it's like you could tell the people making this movie didn't have a clue or iota about religion or faith. And it's like, it did become something laughable because it was so generic and
didn't take it
pedantic.
seriously.
Yeah. With this, it's one of those things where they do take it seriously. They treat it as something frightening and a threat. And it's done in a way that it's not laughable. It's creepy. I mean, yes, there are some scenes with Nicolas Cage, who did a really good job, that I think they wanted to bring some of the tension by making him a little bit humorous with how like off and quirky he was, but it always got right back into being creepy. Like, he would go into doing something weird that you would kind of laugh at because he was a weirdo, but then it would end with him just being disturbing, because you'd be like, oh crap, yeah, he's unhinged. This isn't just oh, look at the weird guy, let's laugh at him. It's like, oh crap, like, I'm kind of afraid of the weird guy, he might kill me. So,
Yeah, no, 100%, exactly.
Yeah.
And
you're
you're right.
there's people like that in real life. There's plenty of people I've come across that will be like, just like, whether they're doing some random tick or something weird, that you're just kind of like, whoa, I don't know what, like, that's kind of weird, but at the same time, I don't, like, you keep your distance because you
it's kind of like
know.
in horrifying moments, or in sad moments, even in a movie or a TV show, that phrase of "it's better to laugh than to cry." It's like, I found myself at times in this, laughing because it was
it's like a
unsettling.
nervous laughter. It's kind of a like
what the hell's going on? Like, this is ridiculous.
And I mean, he did. I do think all the actors did a good job. Again, I don't. Nothing like, I think, above and beyond, but they all sold the roles really well, and they were good in them.
And again, the script was done well enough that it kept your intrigue. It was not something I would say is easy to follow. It's not your straightforward back and forth. And some scenes were natural, but in others you're like, okay, this is kind of, I don't want to say cryptic, but it's more poetic in the way it's written.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that is an element of the movie and the way that it's done, from the cinematography, from the storytelling elements, the actual dialogue of the characters, the way the horror scenes are set up. I mean, there are downright moments where when she's alone, or she's even willing to check certain things out, and I'm just like, okay, this is classic horror trope 101. Like, what are you doing? And it never quite plays out the exact way you think it would, but it very much leads into something else down the road that is just as unsettling and just as creepy.
I think, like, the story, like, I don't think, like I said in the review, that was completely unpredictable. I think oftentimes when they would introduce a certain element where the story was going to end up with that element, but how it ended there, how it got there, like the road they traveled down, just like you were saying, like what they would do, like it's typical horror trope. It's like those were the things that were done well, that were different enough, that kept you invested. Because while you may predict, oh, this character is going to be involved somehow, or this is going to happen to that family, it's like how it comes about, it was what was a little bit more unexpected and kept me intrigued. I was like, okay, I didn't think that was the route they were going to take to get there, but it was good. So.
Yep. So yeah, 3.5 out of 4 stars. I ended up giving it 3. It's definitely a movie.
It's one worth checking out. I give it my stamp of approval over MaxiPad. So
that was last week's review.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that was a little bit of a letdown. And
Yeah.
we don't know about Osgood Perkins here. We don't know.
He's done other movies, and his other ones aren't very good. Like, I was surprised when I looked up his filmography. I was like, huh. So maybe this was a one-off, or maybe this was just him getting.
Maybe just took a little bit more time with this one and working it out. But we'll see what else is on the roadmap for him. No doubt this is at least gonna burst him into the stratosphere of, I think getting a little bit more mainstream and seeing what else comes from whatever endeavor he embarks on next. So we'll see.
That's another good move. I mean, we've had a string of some pretty dull movies, so it was nice to have one that was entertaining.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I was thoroughly surprised by this one the same way as I was with Barbarian and Walking Out of the Theater.
Yeah. And I'm hoping, our next couple movies seem promising, so hopefully we have a couple good
That's
reviews.
right. We're going to be at the lake, but we're going to go see Twisters.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready for Twisters.
If you feel it, chase it. You were supposed to say it, but you didn't. You're ruining it already. Now I don't want to go see it.
I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Let's move on to our...
I'm sorry.
I should have had some headline, or should have had some sound bites from Twister already on that.
Oh, you should. Why don't you? You need the first one. We should watch that while we're at the lake before we go see the sequel. We should do that.
It's a suck zone.
I know Sean's already watched it, but we should make him watch it again.
That's right. Sean, you're watching
I
it
wanted
again.
to watch it before I watched the second one, but I never got the time. So now I'm just going to put it on the hard drive and be like, we're going to watch this.
I like that idea.
We're going to watch it.
We're going to turn it on. Night 1 tomorrow. All righty, guys. Let's move into our headlines.
Pow, 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 pow,
Pow, pow, pow,
pow, pow, pow, pow,
pow,
pow, pow, pow.
pow,
You can
pow.
shoot people and it's okay.
That's a good segue into our...
I mean, that's not true. I don't mean that. But apparently when you're Alec Baldwin, you can shoot
I
people
guess so.
and it's okay.
When you know the right people.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin's Rust case was dismissed.
Oh, Baldy.
Surprise. Surprise.
Yeah, not really.
I
mean,
what? Go ahead.
just Baldwin.
just that's it. That's
Just
it.
Baldwin. Just the whole thing, like the complete, not even just dismissing the case, but like it's like now like they can't pursue it anymore, and I'm just like
I know.
It's yeah.
He gets away scot-free.
This is the end of the road. Like I know there were back and forths where like they dropped the case and someone else picked up the case, and there was just a lot that went on where it felt like maybe something would come of this, and then finally we get to this judge, New Mexico's.
I would say I'm going to go ahead and read the article here.
I have 3 of them. I didn't know which one you were.
We're going to kind of blend them all together.
Okay.
I'm going to read the Daily
Okay.
Wire one because it just kind of sums up what happened.
Yeah.
Santa Fe Judge Mary Marlowe Summer dismissed the involuntary manslaughter case against actor Alec Baldwin on Friday after ruling the prosecutors hid evidence from Baldwin's defense team. The ruling came on the 3rd day of the trial in New Mexico's 1st Judicial District Court after Baldwin attorney Luke Nikas accused prosecutors of deliberately withholding bullets that were turned over to the investigators earlier this year. Summers said that the state was highly culpable for its failure to provide discovery to the defendant, and the dismissal with prejudice was warranted. The late discovery of this evidence has implicated the fundamental fairness of the proceedings, she said. There is no way for the court to right this wrong. The sanction of dismissal is the only warranted remedy. Baldwin had faced up to 18 months in prison if convicted of involuntary manslaughter after a firearm that he was rehearsing with in 2021 on a film set fired a live round that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Summer pulled on put on blue latex gloves, cut open a manila envelope that contained the bullets, and looked at the previously unexamined evidence. Nikas claimed that prosecutors intentionally buried the evidence by putting it under a different case with a different number. Unfortunately, that means that, like Keith just said, this case not only being dismissed, Alec Baldwin cannot be brought up on these same charges.
Yeah. Well, in fact, the one prosecutor had resigned when she found out, because she didn't know about that evidence that had been. And again, because the defense was not told about the evidence, they could not build a defense. Like that was withholding evidence. So, and I'm just like, whoever, like, and again, it's incompetence on many sides.
I don't think it is.
But it's also, I think it is a little bit. But
I'm going to go the conspiratorial route.
That somebody did it on purpose.
But this being a high-profile
that's true
case,
too. That somebody intentionally hid the evidence. Yeah.
No, I think what it was that they intentionally hid it, knowing that it was going to come to blows with the judge.
Yeah.
That it was hidden, and that they knew this case would be dismissed.
That's my point. They intentionally hid it to keep it from. Yeah.
So I think, I'm erring more on that side because of this revolving around Alec Baldwin. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armorer on the set.
She's already convicted.
She's
so
already serving prison time.
Yeah, that's what I say. They got their person. They're like, well, it's her fault. We got a patsy. Why do protect Alec Baldwin?
And yet he's the one that shot the gun. And it's funny because the prosecutor who did resign because of this, trying to uphold her own integrity, now granted, I'm not necessarily calling her out because she resigned and she was only brought onto the case back in April. Yeah. I mean, the fact that this case has been going on since 2021, the incident when it happened, is insane.
It's ridiculous.
We're literally in 2024, almost 3 years later.
It would have been 3 years in October.
And it's just insane to me that this case was finally brought, and now all of a sudden it got thrown out 3 days into trial.
Yeah.
I mean, how many wasted man hours and time? The prosecution, and that's the thing. If it is the fact that they were just grossly incompetent, that does say more about the states.
I don't know what's worse,
judicial proceedings,
whether it would be intentional or incompetence, because then if it's incompetence, then the government's wasting your taxpayer money on idiocy. They can't. But if it's intentional, I mean,
this really should have been a simple shut and close case. As far as he was culpable because of the fact that he fired the gun. There's literally no way in which you could argue all you want about the evidence being brought forward at the time that it was. And granted, look, I'm not going to say that the judge made the wrong call because of this, evidence being hidden from the defense. But at the same time, I'm also not going to sit here and say that rules out the fact
throw
that
out that evidence, because I feel like you don't need that evidence to convict him. It's like
true,
and that's what's weird to me too, because obviously, I mean, at the least, like we're saying, manslaughter. It's like, maybe it was accidental. I don't think he intentionally killed her, but he pulled the trigger, and that's already known. That's manslaughter. Like, that's just a fact. So even without the evidence of him waving the gun around and playing with it, there's a lot of other evidence stacking up that he did not properly handle a gun. He didn't have to be horse playing it to know that he didn't check it. He didn't dry fire it. He didn't do anything other than
and it's funny because that's what I think is so damning, is that the prosecutor who did resign just before this evidence came to light, she admitted that.
Yeah.
She said, I do believe he was horse playing.
Yeah.
He clearly was, test firing with the real gun, whether he should have not or not, whether he thought it wasn't a prop at the time, because it obviously had a live round in it, and it was a live gun, and it fired a real bullet. So the fact that he was test firing and being callous
bullets
about
on the set.
Oh, I know. And look, that's why I believe he should be charged, as well as who already is convicted and charged, who already was convicted.
I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve to be charged either, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, but I think they both do, and I think she just became the patsy. It's like they both are guilty, but because Alec Baldwin's Alec Baldwin, they're like, well, as long as we charge her, we got our blood, our pound of flesh for this murder, and we'll just, but Baldwin gets to walk free because he's Alec Baldwin.
That's right. And that's what I really think happened here. I think there was negligence on the part of whether there was a backroom deal. I can't go into that. But again, the conspiracy side of me says that the prosecution knew better, and they knew how to throw this case. and they knew that this was going to be a high-profile case, and instead of, I mean, look, this goes all the way back to the original district attorney throwing out the case or not trying it and saying, oh, no, we're going to drop these charges, and then they later came back and refiled the case, and I think that was because they were catching heat from Helena Hutchins' family. And, of course, in this circumstance, here it is, the actual man that killed their daughter and her widower's wife. You know, it's like, it's sad that in this day and age, we have instances of again, just injustices taking place because you're a high-profile celebrity. And that's what kills me about this is, 18 months for Alec Baldwin is the least of what he could serve to have truly suffered the consequences of this horrific accident.
Yeah, and that's what aggravates me too. It's like, no, nobody wants to serve any amount of prison time, but it's not like they're trying to throw you in prison for 20 years. It's like you killed him.
Which would presumably be, the rest of his life.
Yeah, but
we're talking a year and a half.
A year and a half for killing somebody, for taking someone's life, yeah.
In fact, the more time that has been spent on getting this case to come to a jury, he could have already had served his time.
Yeah.
He could have already been out of prison and started, coming out on the film circuit to release Rust. We finished it, and it's for Helena Hutchins and
they're
her
still going to
memory.
release it.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Especially now with this outcome. Because that's the mockery of the justice system in and of itself. Because of this one instance of him coming out and saying, see, I was wrongfully accused, and all the evidence has now been brought to light, and the case was dismissed because, no, you did the act. Now, whether or not you were brought forth in terms of the legal system brought to justice doesn't undermine the fact that you pulled the trigger and shot this woman. Mm-hmm. Just because they weren't able to get their act together on the prosecution side and play this right, and they were the failures here, doesn't mean that you're any less guilty of what it is you did do.
And I think
guilty. You're not guilty in the court of law, but you're guilty in terms of, I think, in reality.
I also think that's the point of dragging it out as long as they have. I mean, I know it was dropped and picked back up and this and that, but I think that's also part of it is because now here we are almost 3 years in, and he's finally let go, and most people have kind of moved on by now, and they're just like,
that's what they were counting on.
And then they were counting on, okay, now it's like we can dismiss the case. Most people aren't really following it anymore anyways.
He's suffered enough.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where as much as I would love for Russ to flop, I can also see people's morbid curiosity like boosting it. Like, oh, let's go see that. I wonder what it's like. And it's just one of those sad things where the news cycle is so short now. Everybody's attention spans is so short now that dragging out as long as it has, most people have moved on. And it's just he's going to get away with murder.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the case. And I mean that
or manslaughter. I guess it wasn't murder.
No, it wasn't murder. He
got away with taking a life.
Yeah. And it is sad because I agree. I think it's I'm sticking with what I assume to be the reality of the situation, which is I believe the prosecutors threw this case intentionally. They had their little show trial of we're definitely taking this to trial. We're going to take it to jury, and they wasted all this time, taxpayer dollars, with no real intent on actually holding a fair trial to really get Alec Baldwin. I think they threw this intentionally through negligence, and I think it's sad to see a real injustice take place in front of our eyes and have a huge celebrity get away with, like you said, manslaughter.
Well, don't worry. At the end of the movie, before the credits roll, I'm sure that'll be a nice little for Helena Hutchins.
That's right.
And that'll make it all better.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. All righty. I think we're ready to move on to our final headline of the night. We already mentioned those unfortunate passings from this past week. We got a little bit, something, I think a little bit nicer.
Just spoil it for everybody who wanted to be surprised.
You know what?
It's funny because I probably wouldn't have realized that was him anyways if I hadn't seen the article, which is for the it's funny because I do recognize him from S.H.I.E.L.D. And knew that was his son then, but because that's like the only thing I've ever seen him in, I doubt I would have like recalled like, oh, that's Bill Paxton's son. We're talking about Bill Paxton's son, who now is going to have a cameo in Twisters.
That's right. And it's interesting because I I'm not sure what role it is he plays. I'm sure I'll see it in the movie, and now that I've seen a picture from this article,
I'll actually remember that.
I'll
that's
recognize
him.
him.
Yeah,
but that's
cool though.
It's cool that he spoke to it. Thankfully, they don't tell you what his role in the film is, and you don't know how big it is, how small it is. But he even said, he actually tried out for one of the main roles in the film. Didn't get it.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool that he tried out. And again, in that case, I'm actually glad that it's like, look, there's still a competitive factor within Hollywood. You're not just because you're a famous person.
It's not just nepotism.
Yeah.
And again, I think they are trying to make the best movie they can, the best sequel. And even though there's not a lot of, I think, in the trailer, I think there will be some things that connected to the first one that they're kind of keeping under the radar.
I hope.
So I mean, we'll see. Well, it'll be interesting.
It's just such an iconic '90s movie.
It is.
And it is. It's just a great. Again, that one of those back then was like the destruction films were huge.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's this Dante's Peak,
Volcano, which is just Dante's Peak.
Yeah. They did. I think they did one called Tornado.
Probably. It was terrible.
But I mean, they had disaster flicks.
And then Roland Emmerich saw that and said, "Let's do that only forever
on a global scale."
And it's going to be terrible. It's like Independence Day was good, and from there,
2012, Moonfall, The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, Day After Tomorrow was really kicked it off. From there, it was disaster film after disaster film.
And he even did. I mean, Independence Day was fantastic.
Independence Day was good. The Patriot was good. Those are like his only two good movies.
It's true.
And then he did Godzilla, and that was terrible.
Yeah, that was
Matthew
bad.
Broderick.
The 2000s.
Yeah,
Godzilla.
99.
99.
Yeah, Matthew Broderick.
But yeah, I think it's cool that Bill Paxton's son is reliving this. This role. He said there were times on set where he stepped away and he just kind of had to pinch himself because he was just like, "This is incredible that I'm not only on a film set and still getting," because he said the last movie, I forget the name of it, it's in the article and we'll have it linked in the description below, but he said the last film that his dad went and saw, he kind of gave him his approval. He said, he's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "You got what it takes," and basically was like, "Yeah, you just got to keep working at it, keep doing what you're doing and work hard and you'll make it in this industry. You're ready to go big time." And he said, his dad was, obviously like his best friend, especially in this industry. So the fact that he gets to do this, what he loves to do, I think is cool to see him not only continue his father's legacy, but then to have a film like this that is a direct sequel to one that his father was in. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, his dad was a standout character in like the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like it's Bill Paxton. Like anything Bill Paxton's in, he's going to be like the highlight. Let's be honest.
That's right.
But he played a pretty much a younger version of his father in like the later seasons. So that was kind of cool. Kind of how they did Monarch, Apple TV Plus with Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell, where Kurt Russell was the older version and Wyatt, right? His father and son. Yeah, Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell. The Godzilla series. So it's kind of similar, where it's like one's an older version, one's the younger version, but it's a father and son playing it. I'm like, I like when they do stuff like that.
That is cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Alrighty, guys, I think we're ready to move on to our final.
I think we are.
Final topic of the night. That's our storytime segment. Let's get into it.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
You got something ready over there.
I wasn't sure what this was.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Not pertaining to right now.
I can see the L and then the final D was cut off, so I was kind of confused. But now I see that
Night
it says
of the Living Dead.
Living Dead. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I was confused by it, but now I know.
Yeah, the only problem with
this
that,
one.
I have to try to write the titles
in
such a way that you can tell what they are. But
it's been. I forgot that was on there. If I had remembered, I would have been like, "Oh, that's what that is." Yeah.
But Sean's gonna be pissed at us.
Yeah.
He's gonna be mad at us this week.
Why?
Because we're just flying through the show.
Oh.
It's not even 10 o'clock yet.
Well, there's only two of us, and our only headline really was Baldwin.
Yeah, and we expressed our dismay there, and it came to a true.
It was
That's how I feel.
Accurate that time.
Yep. No. Let's talk about something.
Let's talk about
cheery.
something happy.
This can relate to the lake. It doesn't have to.
I like to relate to myself.
Okay, you do that. Tonight, our unique weekly segment, Storytime, is an unexpected fun time. This is a moment when maybe you were well, maybe you were expecting something fun and then something else happened, but it was just as fun. Or maybe you were expecting to have a bad night and then all of a sudden something fun occurred.
I have an actual couple probably stories, but things that stand
No,
out,
that's good.
so,
Go ahead, yeah.
So it's funny because I know probably a month or two ago, when me and my sister and her family went to St. Louis and saw the Arch, like that was not like a pre-plan. That was literally, I was sitting Friday night, I was watching SmackDown Friday night, and it was like, I think it was right afterwards, actually, about 11 o'clock, and my sister was like, this is like 3.5 hours away, and they have this and this, and like, I just want to do something. You want to go? And it's like, sure. So we went to St. Louis, and
there you go.
We went to the zoo and the Arch, and the kids enjoyed it, and it was fun. Just,
just random,
a little random weekend.
Out of the blue.
It wasn't really planned, but just, things like that happen sometimes. I'm trying to think of other stories that are just more well, I can remember me chasing Tristan going to the lake, which was a planned trip, but we left like pretty much everything. Like that was back when there was not even less down there than there is now, and we had the VCR and the VHS tapes, and we forgot to take any VHS tapes with us except for A Bug's Life and Small Soldiers. And it rained most of the weekend, so it wasn't planned, but we spent like most of the weekend watching those movies over and over and playing cards and stuff. And we did get out and hike at one point when it stopped raining. Well, technically we were supposed to be walking to the cave, but we started hiking up hillsides and stuff, and I just remember sliding in mud and stuff, but it was fun. Like none of that was planned, but things happen. So
yeah, no, honestly that's one of the best parts of going down to the lake is the fact that each day is, I mean, we already
you just
know,
get up and do something.
We're gonna get up.
We're gonna go on the water, yeah.
Right, and I was gonna say it's pretty much that. You're gonna get up, go to the water, and then spend most of the day out on the water. Come back home and watch stupid movies. But it's like in between there. I mean, honestly, last year we went twice, and the first time was our typical normal, 4-day trip or whatever, and then we had Neil come into town, and Jacob was able to make his way with us, and we only spent a weekend down there. It was literally 2 nights. Went down on a Friday, only stayed 1 full day, so Friday into Saturday, then all day Saturday, and then came back Sunday. So it wasn't a long trip.
Yeah.
But I remember waking up Saturday and like we ate breakfast, and then it was like a little bit of a storm like came through, and we busted out the poker chips and some cards and started playing poker.
Yeah, that was fun.
We went out over to the beach, which we normally we don't go to because a lot of people are over there, and we normally stay out on the lake on the boat. But we decided to drive over to the beach, and we're just kind of wading in the water there. We came back and ended up spending the rest of the night just chilling, and I think
Smash Brothers,
and some Mario Kart, and it was like, and it ended off with The Room.
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau.
Well, The Room has to be played at least once. At least once at the lake.
Even if it's not watched, it's in the background.
It's got to be on there. It's got to. Well, and I believe I've told this story on the podcast before for a different question, but it was unplanned. That time that like I had mentioned before, I had been like kind of really sick, and Neil and Ty wanted to hang out, so I just kind of like not like sick like contagious sick, but like allergies and gunked up, and like I didn't feel good, had the chills, whatever, and I literally like just rode around with them like all over Louisville reading Perks of Being a Wallflower. And like I remember we like went to McDonald's, we went to the seminary, and they took pictures and like the sunset, and that was really cool. And then we went back to Ty's house, and a bunch of people came over, and literally people were swimming, and I was just laying in the lawn chair reading and chilling. Erin Ralph was there. I remember her being at the pool because people would just stop by like, "How you doing, dude?" We'd chat for a while, and I was just like, I don't feel great, but yeah, I'll just tag along and be like this weird like.
And it ends up becoming.
But it was
memory.
fun.
Yeah.
Like I like that. I had a lot of fun. Like it's odd because even though like I wasn't like physically doing a lot, like it was just fun. Like it was like
it's funny because you bring up Aaron, and like
Yeah.
I just remember a lot of those times back in high school and even in early college years, whether we were doing ITCO or filming a new movie or something. Like we're doing a bunch of projects. There'd be tons of times we'd get together, start a project, but of course, inevitably, we were very bad about finishing back then.
Half of 26 years was us going to the store and doing random stupid like
Nathan,
none of that was planned, but we did it anyway.
Nathan, who we just hung out with on Sunday and caught up with,
Great guy.
Plenty of times on those adventures. He's been on the show before, but tons of adventures with that guy whenever we're doing a project or, of course, just wanting to get together and hang out. And that is what it ends up becoming. It's like, let's get together and, we obviously now our lives are a little bit more pre-planned because we have schedules and we got to be responsible.
Sometimes spontaneity can be fun sometimes. It depends. Like, obviously, I don't want to just...
It makes you understand and you are happy about the times in your life where you can look back and say you had less responsibility, so you had the ability to do that. I remember doing the senior video, and I had to get the sunset or the sunrise in the early in the morning.
Yeah.
And I remember you coming over to my house and meeting me at it was like 4:30 in the morning or 5 in the morning. And of course I told my parents ahead of time, and I was like, he's going to come over and we're going to get the sunrise, but I got to get up and leave. And they were all for it. But I remember you coming over, calling me. I barely got any sleep that night anyway, just because I was already like anticipating, but I didn't want to fall asleep and not wake up.
Yeah.
Because this was literally, I think, like the last time I could get it and add it to the very beginning.
Because it was for the senior video.
And it was like that week, I think it was like that following Friday or Saturday we were, showing it. So I had to get it. And I remember you meeting in the driveway. We ran over there to the field. I set up the camera, and then like literally all we had to do was sit and record.
Yeah.
And I knew I had to make sure I had batteries charged. And then, of course, there was a time where I either had to change out the tape or the battery, get enough footage. And, of course, the idea was to like speed it up afterward. But it was just a fun morning, and I think we ended up going and getting like Dairy Queen afterward.
I know, we always went to Dairy Queen.
We did. We got biscuits and gravy.
It was like Dairy Queen or Rallies, I feel like, where there's like we always went to those two.
It was. Funny enough, I am going to bring this up because obviously she's married now and probably has kids. But I remember my first date with a girl I dated in high school, Molly.
Oh, yeah.
It was completely random. We met. And our plan was just to go to meet up, pick her up, go have a picnic, and walk around a park over off of Bardstown Road. And it was like just going to be very simple, easy peasy first date, just to get to know each other. We started heading out that way. And as we were like trying to find out where this park was, like this is before the days of iPhone. I mean, iPhone was out, but it was like I didn't have one. They were super expensive. It was like you either had.
I didn't have an iPhone until iPhone 4. I know you got one before then.
Yeah, I got the second.
Well, that was the first one that was on Verizon.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I was a singular guy at the time before AT&T bought them out. But yeah, I didn't have an iPhone, so it's like I didn't know where. Like, so we were driving around for at least probably an hour trying to find out where this park was and could not find it. And so she just
MapQuest, man. I remember that.
Yep. Oh yeah. Print them off, get the directions that way.
That's how we used to do things.
And that was back when MapQuest was the only thing, and it was always wrong. It never led you to. Well, for the most part, it did. It was the best you could do. But I remember we were driving around and we could not find this park, and we pulled in and there was like this sign that was like, come see such and such at the zoo. And she was just like,
that's on Poplar Level, yeah.
Yeah, it was like it was super close. It wasn't that far. And we were just sitting there and we were like, you want to go to the zoo?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah.
Good job.
Let's go to the zoo.
You saved that date.
Spontaneity, man. And it was perfect. We got to the zoo. We got in there. We rode the little train that went around the park. Got to see the animals. We talked. Fun date. It was a good date. And again,
good job. And now you're single.
I am.
Me too.
We broke up,
but
it came back around. She was at the 26 years premiere. Back when we had that. But you know what? We made up. It wasn't the best breakup. That was on me. I'll take the blame for that. But no, I will say, it was just fun to have a spontaneity moment and to just do something random. And I think sometimes that variety is the spice of life. And when you have things too pre-planned, I think it to me, I love it when it comes to holidays and getting to spend time with family. And when you get around the family, and sometimes there's things that are planned of like, okay, we're going to have dinner at this time. But also I love it when certain activities are not planned.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You can just run off and do whatever, because to me, it's like to me, part of the relaxation is the ability to just kind of let go of responsibility and not have things to worry about. I mean, I understand as an adult now why when I was younger, it was like, of course, every time we went on a vacation as a family, everything was fun. because it was all centered around our
Yeah.
you know,
your
our
parents.
experience.
And that's a little different because when you have kids, I do think you have to plan certain things out to keep your
True.
kids from being bored. So, and when you're a kid, you're not doing the planning, so you think everything is this spontaneous, like, oh, this is great, look where all these things are doing.
Right.
But secretly, your parents are just like, what's around here that we could do, because you got to keep the kids from driving us
Right.
crazy.
and it's fun because I think especially carrying that into our adult lives and realizing that, you know, when you get into the humdrum everyday mundane, you know, following a strict schedule, I think it's, you know, especially when you are surrounded by, you know, social media and you're constantly bombarded by things that distract you from just actually putting devices down, enjoying the company you're with, and enjoying the moment that you're in. You know, I hate the phrase YOLO, and that's all about just
I mean,
taking a bite out of life. I'm about experiencing the moment you're in, but still, you got to have a trajectory.
yes, exactly.
know,
like I like every now and then something completely spontaneous is fine, but I like the idea of like kind of like the outline. It's like okay, like me, you, and Nathan, like we know we might hang out. What we're going to do during that, it's like, yeah, we're gonna hang out. We'll probably get some food, maybe see a movie, but the random crap we get into in between, like Roman Target, is completely unplanned.
Dude, the amount of trips we've taken to Book and Music Exchange. I mean,
Yeah.
this
Oh,
was
yeah.
College 101
and
was,
again,
was
it's
doing
not
that.
like it's not that we're like, I mean, sometimes we would buy stuff, but a lot of times just us
Just
playing
perusing.
around.
Yeah.
We're just messing around. Like look at this was cool, or look at this plastic sword.
Making
Let's
fun.
beat each other with them.
Right.
But me and Nathan were always sword fighting and doing weird.
y'all were borderline like deviants. Y'all would go into stores and
I
be
don't
like,
know
I
about
don't know what they're getting into.
deviants, because we never destroyed anything or anything bad. But
I use the term loosely.
But we would put, like, Halloween is always a great, because we'd always put the mask on and play with the axes and swords, and
Oh yeah,
it's like, here's some high school seniors in here running amok, and
that's the thing.
people are just like, what are they doing?
It's the funny thing now, as a 34-year-old man, I look at and I see
I'd do it
teenagers
again.
running around, and I'm like, you know, when teenagers are being teenagers,
Yeah.
and you shrug it off and like, that's so annoying. But at the same time, then you're like,
I don't know.
I get it.
If me and Nathan went into a store now during Halloween, we'd probably still do it.
And rightfully,
So, I
sometimes
mean,
doing
know.
some of those things would probably get the cops called.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
I think playing with the plastic swords is fine. I don't think anybody really cares.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. But it's best saved for off air. We ain't got to talk
Well, I
about
don't
it.
remember doing anything worse with Nathan.
I know. I ain't going to bring it up. It's all right. It's all good.
I remember doing worse with other people, but I'm not
Well,
talking about that.
a lot of those were unexpected times, too.
Those I'd be a little bit more hesitant about. I'm not saying never, but I'd think twice about it.
There's things you do as kids. It's like you kind of got to have some fun.
Yeah,
and
we
get
won't
into a
share those
little
on
trouble.
mine. Yeah.
But yeah, we won't talk about those. But yeah,
Share the load. Oh, I could play that.
but lots of good times. Yep, and of course that's part of what the fun of the lake is too. Is it's always just a good time to get away, and again, leave the devices back at the we take them with us.
I'd
But,
say we take our devices.
but mainly so we can play music out on the lake, and we try not to be bombarded with emails or with text or anything like that.
You mean on the water? Yeah, we don't generally
Right.
have like devices on the water. I thought you meant in the trailer.
No, I mean, well, and even
Yeah.
on the water, we take them for that purpose. And sometimes we
Just the phone and a speaker normally.
right.
Really. I mean, I've taken my iPad before to read, but
yeah, we
Like,
we try to
I just don't like
just
have internet out there. you know?
exactly zone out, stay disconnected
I
off
like
the
to
grid
read
as
on
we
the
can.
water. It's
Nothing-
nice.
Yeah, it's not nothing
nice.
wrong with that. Just don't get in the lake and drop your iPad.
Or do, and then I have to get a new one.
Yeah,
It's old.
You're in that market.
It's old.
Alrighty, guys. Short episode tonight, as you can tell. We just want to get to the lake.
I mean,
So, thank y'all for
I think
watching.
it's a combination of that, but I mean, generally, it definitely wasn't pre-planned. I think it's just the only really major headline this week was
what we saw, and again, there were other things that were definitely more pressing this past weekend, but we're not. As much as we do dive into politics sometimes, we're not a political show.
no.
We try
It's
to-
completely unrelated to film, so
Right. There was
until they
no-
make a movie about it,
They
then
never will. They never
probably
will.
not. But still,
Again, don't want to get into that.
somebody will. It may not be a good one. It might
That's
be some
true.
cheat like Angel Studios or something. But
Hey, they make some decent stuff.
They do, but they do. To be fair to them, they do. But it'll be someone else. I don't know. Maybe the people who made Chappaquiddick. That was actually pretty good.
You're picking studios that are actually decent.
I know. I want them to make a good one, but
It's like high hopes. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, wait, we're not there yet.
Who?
You got to like, share, subscribe on all of our favorite social media networks right there at the bottom of your screen. That's right, Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Tweet on X, Red Moon Pics on Instagram, and of course, search for Red Moon Productions on both YouTube and Rumble. We appreciate all the love. And there is that old-fashioned way of reaching out to us. What is that, Keith?
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Man, sultry. Oh.
Ready.
Alrighty, guys. Until
Bigger,
next
bigger.
time, we're going to have our review of Twisters next week. And, of course, more headlines to follow. And until then, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside Noah. Not our normal Noah
He's
host.
gone.
He's gone. He vanished. But our other host right over there.
Keith Cheatham.
That's right. We'll see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.